And welcome once again to the OANDA Market Snapshot. My name's Craig Erlam, Senior Market Analyst at OANDA. Now, the quiet week does continue today. It has been quite a quiet day in terms of economic data and also, again, notable news flow. The markets in many cases are trading relatively flat on the day, marginally higher or lower in some cases. We do have some movement, of course, in certain markets. Oil markets continue to be one of the most notable movers. We are up today around 1.2 to 1.4% in Brent and WTI crude. And again, I think this is being helped in part by a bit of a more risk-on sentiment, and that's helping to drive equity markets higher as well. Europe up around 3/5 of 1%. The US opened around half an hour ago, and that's up around 3/10 of 1%. So we are seeing a little bit more risk appetite in the markets today. It is going to be interesting to see how oil does respond over the next 24 hours or so, actually, because we did see the sell-off in both Brent and WTI crude on the back of those inventory numbers yesterday. Today, it is being helped a little bit higher, especially in the last hour or so, by comments from the Saudi oil minister. A few particular notes that he said was in relation to the higher output that we had in Saudi Arabia recently, record amounts of output, record amount of oil production, and they said that was just merely due to higher summer demand. They did talk about the meeting in Algeria next month on the sidelines of the Energy Forum, and they're effectively just saying, that if more action is needed, if action is needed to stabilise the markets, then that is something that will be discussed at this forum. Really playing up to the potential for a cut or a freeze in production to be agreed between OPEC and non-OPEC members. For me, this doesn't really change anything. This doesn't suggest that anything's going to happen. We've got to remember that we had the same rhetoric ahead of previous meetings, and that's not to say that the Saudis are necessarily misleading the markets. It could potentially just be the fact that they are optimistic that something can be done, but the actual reality is that it's a far more difficult task at this moment in time than they would hope for. At the end of the day, the Saudis are now pumping record amounts of oil, and Iran is now pumping is resuming pumping oil at the higher rates that they were pre-sanctions. They're getting closer towards these rates, I should say, at a faster rate than what it was anticipated as well. So really, from the supply side perspective, we are seeing oil production ramping up, and this is at a time when you've got the International Energy Agency forecasting oil demand next year to be a little bit lower than was previously forecast, at 1.4 million barrel per day growth rather than 1.2 million barrel per day growth rather than 1.4 million barrels per day. So really, they're forecasting a more difficult year from the demand side at a time when supply seems to be picking up again. But I think the comments that we've had from the Saudi oil minister in the last hour or so is helping to support the price again, because again, it does just feed into the potential for some sort of deal to be done next month. Aside from that, the markets are, like I say, looking a little bit quieter today. We have had a little bit of economic data, but nothing overly notable. If we bring up the economic calendar now, you can see that we've had jobless claims data, which was 1,000 above our consensus. So no major moves there, no real shocks. We've had very good figures here for 2 years now, and they haven't necessarily varied that much on a week-by-week basis. I think the surprise came on the import price index, the month-on-month figure at 0.1% rather than minus 0.3%, potentially indicating there is more import inflationary pressures than the market is anticipating. But once again, this is just 1-2 months worth of data. We've got to get a bit of a trend flowing here before people start to potentially anticipate higher inflation being imported into the US, something that we're seeing no signs of from right now as far as the actual inflation data is concerned. So like I say, a bit of a quieter day on the economic data and news flow side. Hopefully things should pick up tomorrow, and I certainly expect things to pick up once again next week. For more in-depth news and analysis, check out OANDA Market Pulse at marketpulse.com. You can also find out more about OANDA and sign up for a free demo account at oanda.com. Here you'll also get access to OANDA Forex Labs, which has a lot of great tools designed to help you with your trading.